What's up? I'm theZim. This is theZim's Video Journal. This is the second time that I've tried to record this video journal because the first time my hair was all. I look bad. I look kind of bad today. I'm tired. I'm kind of tired and look at those bags. Oh my god. Oh, I look terrible. But it's the lighting. But I had a show last night. That's pretty much why I look terrible. But the show was amazing. With the theZim's Arock, we played the Bindlestick in Snoqualmie. Super dope. I had a great time. I'll tell you why I had a great time. Well, a couple reasons I had a great time. Great time because it was the first time in a while that we played the full electronic set with the theZim's Arock. Great time because we met a bunch of really cool people, including Just Cause, an MC, hip-hop kind of group, local, and also Valley Vibes. Played with those guys. But everybody at the show was amazing. Aaron Jones closed it out, who's amazing. You should know that by now. But the whole thing was awesome. People were cool. Got great feedback from what we were doing. And then, so in this new set that we're working on, I have this new song that's basically like an a cappella rap I do for quite a good stretch of time. And I was feeling pretty, I don't know, not totally over top anxious about it, but like I was just worried I would mess it up, because it has to happen, and then if I miss it, it's like there's a gap of time it fits in and all this kind of stuff. So I nailed it. I pretty much nailed it. It was a little tiny hiccup, but I don't think anybody really could have noticed it. But I nailed it, and it felt good, and I just laid into it, and I got some great feedback from it after people heard it. And the whole set, too, it was awesome. It just made me feel really good. So I really like that. I'm looking forward to keep on playing and keep it going, keep it happening. So that was fun. And then we're playing Brody Nation July 23rd. We're going to be at Carnation on the Tolt River. I'll put the link down there to the event page so you can find it and get some more details there. But we'll be playing with Just Cause again, and Valley Vibes as well are playing on the same day that we are. Probably Aaron Jones is playing that day too. I don't know what day he's playing, but that's Saturday. We're going to be on at 2:55 on Saturday, July 23rd. So hope to see you there. Let me talk about the podcast. Did a podcast last week with Leanne, Wilkins, and the weather, and it was great. I didn't write anything down. I didn't write anything down today, so I'm just doing all this off the top of my head. Well, I just did it. This is the second time I'm doing it off the top of my head, but it was great having Leanne, a different kind of slice of the scene, different vibe, different people, expanding the network and all that kind of good stuff, which I love doing. And for me personally, just a little behind the scenes from what I remember, it was a slow kind of start, the podcast itself, like getting into the conversation with the artists that were here. Like I felt it was a slightly strained start. Like the first 10, 15 minutes is not quite didn't flow as good as I like, but I feel like the entire podcast it really got someplace good with when we were talking with, obviously with all the musicians and finding out their stories and what it's like to be in the scene and all that kind of stuff. So there's some really good nuggets in there about just the culture of the scene and things like that. So that felt good. And I think as a whole, the whole podcast was pretty great. But for me personally, that beginning, I remember being here, I was actually getting hot because I was worried about if we were, what it was sounding like, it's because there's this idea is if you in your mind feel it's boring or whatever, it's probably boring to the listener. And it wasn't so much that I felt it was boring, I was just worried because I wasn't feeling in the flow quite as good as sometimes I'm able to get in the flow with some people. And it really relates to, a lot of times it relates to how willing the guests I have wants to talk. Like if they're waiting to be asked questions and they do short answers and kind of more of just, they're kind of waiting for me to curate every part of it. That's a little bit about the way this happened. That's what it was. It took me more time to warm them up and make them realize, yeah, let's just talk. Let's just, it's like you don't have to wait for me to prompt you. We can just create a conversation, which is hard to totally realize. I think, I don't know, but some people are just ready. Some people get podcast culture really well and they understand what I'm doing, and podcast culture is like that. It's more about conversation rather than just question and answer. But so there's that. But I think it turned out great. So I'd love to hear what you thought about it. On that lines, I got another review of the podcast on iTunes. Always makes me, the more reviews I can get, it just feels more legit, you know. It feels like I'm doing something right, and it makes it look to the outside, to that person that I don't know. Because right now, really, the network that I'm talking to, that are listening to the podcast, are people I know. I haven't been able to crack that broader base of people out there yet. I don't know why. I don't know how to do that, and I've been trying. I feel like I've been trying, but when there's more reviews, when people come to see and are seeking out stuff, and they see these positive reviews of the podcast, I just think like eventually, one of these times, the right person will see something that it'll crack open, you know. And I've been thinking a lot about everything I do with my artistic intentions and ideas, podcast, my music and stuff, and it feels like kind of this idea like I'm sculpting in granite. It's like I'm chipping away at this block of rock, and I'm still working on it, but the amount of chunks of it that break off at a time in order to get to the final thing are so small. It's just like, and it's interesting. It's a, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's just as it should be, but at the same time, I feel like I wish there was a little bit more happening on a quicker, more regular basis. But that's the workings of an artist, right? That's what you want. Sometimes, at least that's what I want. As my artistic process goes along, I kind of would like to see some more things happen, like some more of the right people to go like, hey, we like what you're about, let me help you. Just a little more help, I guess. I don't know. Speaking of help, though, I got there's a new blog, a new Seattle music scene blog / website thing happening called Seattle Soundcheck, who is kind of making Word on the Street the official podcast of their blog, I guess you could say, and they're embedding a stream, like the most current episode is on their page as well, so that's really cool. So we'll see if that grows. It's brand new, so they don't really have like a audience yet, really, a base of, I don't know what you call it, but like in podcast term would be a listener base, but they don't have like a subscription base. You know, it's like people, there's not really a base of people that are there. It's not like I'm dropping it into something that has like thousands of subscribers or whatever, and then they'll see that and hopefully help We're on the Street grow. We'll just grow together. We're both grassroots, so hopefully we can help each other out and see what happens. But I'm pretty stoked on that. I think it seems pretty cool. So there's that going on. It's called Seattle Soundcheck, so Google it. I'll put a link to the Facebook page and website down there so you can check it out if you like. But what else? Really the only last thing I wanted to mention is I feel a lot better this week than I did the previous week. I don't remember what I told you last week, but I think I mentioned that the prior week, not this last week, but 2 weeks ago, I guess now, I tried to videotape on my iPod, like a daily video journal. Oh yeah, I did mention it. I mentioned it, and I said I was going to try to go a year. Well, that day, I just had an almost meltdown with everything I was trying to do. I took a whole bunch of things off my schedule. I was like refocusing, only going to be dropping one podcast a week from now on. I had, for the last 2 weeks, I dropped 2 per week, you know, or last 3 weeks or whatever. But this last week I only dropped 1, which is great. And then but it was like things like that. It's just like building up. And I just kind of like got to a critical point. And I was freaking out. My anxiety and my depression was going off the charts. It was just like, everything was crazy. And I was like, got some messages on Facebook that like, you're doing too much. You're trying to do too much. Why don't you skip? And I was like, and that, just getting those kind of comments was like making me more anxious. Cause I was like, no, I want to work. I want to power through this and do this. But realizing it just doesn't work. Your body can only take so much. And I decided, okay, I cleared the schedule. I got to the point where I was like, almost like, I'm going to stop all of it. Everything. I was like, I'm just going to quit the band. I'm going to quit everything. I'm just done. I can't, I got those thoughts in my head. I was just like, but I was like, no, that's not what I really want. I just need to scale back. And it took me a few days actually to kind of work back into a kind of a better spot. Cause, you know, I've started to feel better again. I started going to bed at like 9 o'clock, 9:30. Yeah, get up, do my exercise in the morning. And and I just started feeling better, just kind of not worrying about it, and not, it's like I know I'm still spending most of my day at my day job, which doesn't bring me a lot of joy, but it's what I gotta do to pay my bills and rent and all that stuff. And at the same time, not feeling exhausted when it's time to do my band or, things after work. Having, even though I may not get, like, if I try to burn it at both ends and stay up till, 12 and put in another 6 hours on things that I'm working on, maybe I won't get that time, but it's like the 2 hours I do have because I want to get to bed at a reasonable time feels way better. It makes me more happy and more productive than trying to just stretch it out and be this kind of like, no, I'm going to do it anyway, and, whatever, have that kind of attitude. It just, I don't know, just where I'm at right now. Just got to do it. And it's, hopefully while I'm at my job, I can just kind of roll through it and not let it get me worked up or anything like that. So, I don't know. That's just kind of where it's been. I feel a lot better this last week. So, now you know. I'm ready to keep on keeping on. I mentioned already Brody Nation, so come check that out. July 23rd, $255. I spent like $20 for the day if you come down because it's a music festival. So hopefully make that happen. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. I'm the Zim. This is the Zim's Video Journal. Check out the podcast. It's on iTunes. It's on all the places. WOTSpodcast.com. I have the link down there. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. Peace.